Hey, it's Barb. Welcome back to the Pink Radish Vegan Kitchen. I have a surprise cook today. So, what's for dinner? Oh, yes, vegan posole soup, one of our favorites. Let's get going. A good posole always starts with good pinto beans. These are the cranberry beans from Rancho Gordo. I'll link below their website. These are delicious beans. No soaking required when you have an Instapot. So, we pop them in for 25 minutes and you got to wash them though, pick out any stones or any debris you might find in them. And here it is all ready to go in the Instapot with the spices, onions, garlic. And this is how they turned out. Yummy. They're so creamy and just perfect, the right texture, and they'll really be great in the soup. So we started with onions and celery, I mean, onions and garlic. And then I put together the beans and the spices in a plate with the hominy. That's cumin and smoked paprika. And then that just waits until it's turned to go into the pan. And here we are. These are the other ingredients. So we've got a vegetable broth, 2 cups of water, and a can of tomato paste. These are the guajillo chilies. We used one of them, a very large one. We It wasn't as spicy a soup as we had hoped for, so maybe two would have been good, but it's always difficult to know what you want to do with them, how many you want to put in. The recipe calls from 1 to 4. So it's up to you how many spices you want to put in. So I put the hominy, the beans, and the spices all in a bowl and just set that aside so we add that when we get the broth ready. It's cumin and smoked paprika, a little bit of salt. All of that waits for the broth to be made, which is made out of vegetable broth, water, and tomato paste. That's a half a cup of tomato paste, is what it calls for. So we're going to get that in the pot when it's time, and the onions and garlic are ready. We got the onions and the garlic sauteing down in the pan. We always suggest just a tiny bit of salt to kind of help to wilt the vegetables down. So like a quarter cup, so a teaspoon of salt goes in, and we love soup. I want to talk about soup. Any kind of soup, the heartier the better. Always good to have a soup in your refrigerator. You can have it for dinner, you can have it for lunch, heck, you can have it for breakfast. It doesn't matter, but just cook the soups you love. We made a cabbage soup, I think it was last week, and we ate that off and on over the week, and finally last night we each had a huge bowl, and it was so delicious. Oh my gosh. The more soup sits in the refrigerator after you make it, the better it is. So if you eat this soup, like we'll have this soup tonight for dinner, but we'll put the rest of it into the refrigerator, and the next thing you know, a couple days from now, when it's rainy again, or we just need something really soul satisfying, yeah, it comes right out, and it's so simple. It's one of the best cooking from home tricks you could do, because the reality is that it's so simple. Most of the time, the ingredients in your refrigerator is all you're going to need. You always have pantry items of onions, carrots, and celery. Make up a nice pot of soup. All the nutrition stays in the broth, whatever it is. And find someone who you love to make a soup, and then go for it. If you're going to make it creamy and you want to keep the cream out, use cashews. You put cashews in a blender with some water and a little lemon juice, and you've got like a cashew cream. Use just like you would use any kind of cream in any kind of cream-based soup, but you don't have all of the saturated fat. There's lots of tricks that you can do. Oops, got a little chilies in there still. Ooh, that's going to be good. So yeah, now the next thing we're going to add is the tomato paste. And the thing that you need to know about tomato paste is you got to cook it down and get that sort of raw flavor out. So stay tuned and I'll add the tomato paste. So I added the whole can of tomato paste. It calls for a half a cup, and I'm thinking that's pretty much what's in that can. Plus or minus a little bit, it's all good. All right, look who's in the kitchen. I put him to work.
I'm working.
Steve is a great cook, so I want him to tell you about this recipe.
Yeah, well, last year, Barb and I were kind of separated a little bit because of COVID, and I needed to find vegan recipes for me to cook. Barb does most of the cooking, and then I needed to figure out how to feed myself. So went online, and I always read the recipes, and I know how to follow recipes, and I can usually tell by looking at a recipe how it's going to come out and how it's going to taste. So I found this one, and I made this last year, and I made it for the non-vegan people that I do dinner with on Saturday, and they loved it. But the trouble is with people on the East Coast, you can't make it spicy. You got to watch the amount of peppers that you put in there, and it calls for 4 of the I can't even pronounce the peppers. Guajillo peppers, but you gotta do it for the people that are going to eat this. So start with 1 or 2, and then next time make it a little bit more spicy if you want it that way. So we just got the onions and the tomato paste in here.
Okay, so now you're going to add the water and the vegetable broth to that.
Nice.
And all the vegetable broth.
We're kind of wishing we could have a smell-o-vision here. This is really smells so great. All of this?
Yep, all of it.
Okay. Yeah. This is a pretty easy recipe. Basically just doing some chopping and last time I made this I didn't have any good way to cook the beans, so I used canned beans, and it still worked out great. You can use canned beans, and if you wanna get your own beans in there, whatever you want.
That's what we did today.
Yeah.
So give that a good stir.
We Instapotted our beans, and that really smells great.
Yeah, it's really tremendous. And then as soon as that's all pretty much combined, then you add that plate of the hominy and
put all this in?
Yep, all that
Okay.
goes in.
All the goodness. And this thing is heavy. So I don't know, I'll just get a good shot here.
Yeah, I
All
already.
the spices, the hominy, the beans we made,
Yep,
and it's all just going to go in the pot.
all goes in. Can't be simpler, huh?
It's easy. This is easy.
This
That's
is-
what it's all about. Make it as simple as you can, because if it gets too complicated, you may not want to make it. And a lot of people don't have the time to put into cooking. They're busy working, taking care of the kids, whatever. So keep it simple. And I'm going to tell you one thing. This is one of those dishes that make it the night before, the day before. It just gets better the longer it sits. All the flavors just combine really well, and it's excellent.
It is really excellent.
Okay.
Let's see what you got going on in here as you stir it
Well,
up.
it's tough to see everything because it's mostly broth right now.
But that red, oh, and don't forget behind you there's your chili, so that's got to dump in. That's got to go in too.
Okay. So there's that, and this is probably the most important ingredient right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Chilies. Take the seeds out.
We did.
You have to take the seeds out, or else you will never be able to eat this thing. So it's just basically just the skins. There's one little seed. We'll leave that in there, and you just drop it in.
Yep, and then you're going to fish it out later. The
Yeah.
only other thing we need to do is get a bay leaf out, and we'll do that in a
And
minute.
drop a bay leaf in,
Yeah.
and then
And then this goes up to a simmer, and it simmers for, I think it said 30 minutes.
yeah.
So what we'll do is, simmer it up, and then we'll put the lid on it and just walk away from it. We don't need to worry about it or babysit it. So what we have for the toppings, which we'll show you later, but it calls for avocado chopped,
Radishes.
a little bit of green onion if you want, like a scallion, chopped up, a squeeze of lime juice, so we have some fresh limes, and
If you have some good vegan cheese, you can throw that on too.
but we have some tortilla chips that we can crunch on the top too.
Yep.
So that's going to be dinner tonight. We're looking forward to it. And remember, your protein in this comes from the beans. The carbohydrates are your hominy and your beans. There's onion in here and garlic, not a lot of other vegetable. So if you wanted to serve, any other kind of vegetable on the side, you can. It's just a really healthy, very low fat. I think I only use like a teaspoon of oil in here
to saute the onions and the garlic, and if you didn't want to use that, you didn't have to do that either. And that's it. I love the color of that. Oh, and cilantro. We have fresh cilantro. We like cilantro. I know a lot of people don't, but we do. So we'll be chopping up some cilantro for that later.
The great thing is you can do whatever you want for
Right.
topping.
Right. All right. So we'll show you the finished bowl when we are getting ready to eat later.
One of the last really important ingredients, anytime you ever make any kind of soup type thing, bay leaf. It makes a huge difference. I don't know why, but it just does.
Yeah.
That goes right in, and you can add a couple of them if you want. And so that just goes in, give it another little stir, and then we're going to cover it, and it's going to simmer.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
So easy. This is one of those go-to recipes. I know the weather's getting warmer, but if you just want something easy, great flavor, great protein, and everything like that, this is a go-to recipe.
Yeah, glad to put him to work in the Pink Radish Vegan Kitchen today. Yeah. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Take care.
All right, everyone, dinner is ready. There's the soup garnished. We have, for the garnish, there's avocado, green onion, radish, cilantro, and lime. And this is definitely a delicious bowl of goodness. The bean soup, the posole came out very thick, creamy, thanks to the beans. There's also some tortilla chips in the soup as well, crunched up. And there you have it. This is dinner, Sunday. A beautiful day for a bowl of posole.
Hey, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks. See you next week.